Welcome to the podcast, The Colors of Womanhood. I'm your host, Kaya. The Colors of Womanhood aims to meet women exactly where they are, no matter the stage of life. As a woman who once was a girl, as a woman who transitioned from girlhood into young womanhood, marked by the onset of menstruation, as a woman who must stand up for herself and create her own path, as a woman who seeks to enjoy life, though it may not always be possible, as a woman who knows the complexities of motherhood, or perhaps doesn't, as a woman with children of her own, or a woman raising someone else's children, from a woman living in sub-Saharan Africa to one residing in France. The Colors of Womanhood tells the story of female health, women and their purpose, women and the importance of yoga in their lives. It explores women's unique relationship with their health, the influence of culture, and the deep connection women have with their inner selves. It invites women to reflect on what that connection means and the untapped potential they possess to fully embrace their health and womanhood. In this episode of The Colors of Womanhood, I sit down with Alexe Woods, intuitive sleep coach, astrologer, and founder of Universal Movement. From a childhood shaped by dyslexia and creative expression to becoming a pioneer in pole dance and a wellness visionary, Alexe's journey is a rich tapestry of resilience, reinvention, and feminine power. We explore the pivotal life moments that led her to redefine movement, not just as a performance, but as self-care, a way to heal, to connect, and to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Alexe shares how astrology, motherhood, and burnout guided her into deeper cycles of rest, and how a methodology blends the sun, moon, and movement to help others reconnect to their bodies with intention and grace. I see already smiling. So this is going to be a conversation about what happens when women reclaim their right to rest, to move with purpose, and to thrive in their own cosmic timing. Welcome, Alexe.
I love that. Thank you for this amazing introduction. I love it. Thank you.
So let's see what we're going to hear from you. So your journey has taken you from the world of performing arts and business into holistic healing. How has your relationship with womanhood evolved through these transitions?
Well, obviously, I've always been a woman as a start, but I, growing up and most of my life actually felt very masculine inside, despite looking very feminine. And I think growing up in the 80s, seeing all these women with the big shoulder pads and doing it all the time had quite a big influence on me. And I was somebody who was a go-getter, even if I was still doing this in sensual movement or so on. I built a big business, and over time, I kind of wore myself out. I wore myself into the ground, like most of us do, unfortunately, in this society. And now I've gone into, since motherhood, it made me reflect on, actually, I need to take care of myself in a totally different way, because I need to be there for my daughter and my husband and for my, the rest of my family and so on. So decided, okay, let's try and look for alternatives, because I've always been very much about alternatives. And I fell into the lunar cycle and the sun cycles to, kind of replenish energy and understand how energy works, and within the body, especially with medical astrology. And now I'm living this methodology of the sun and the moon, and it's totally changed my life, and I'm for very much the better, and I'm looking to show this to other people now.
Yes. Well, I've got, I think, two questions. One is if you can share a little bit more on how you really, like, on a daily basis, are integrating that with the sun and the moon. And the other question is that I'm curious how, as a younger girl, how you were much in that masculine energy and how you were aware of that.
Okay, so I'll answer the first question first. So the sun obviously goes in 12 cycles throughout the year, which is each of the astrological signs. And the moon visits every 2.5 days, one of the 12 signs over a 28-day period a month, let's say. So in 1 month, we will have the sun in one sign, and we'll have the moon actually visiting all the signs in that 28 days. So the sun is our vitality. It is actually our energy. And what I'm trying to get people to understand is that you are not just your sun sign, that when you have your birth chart, you actually are all the signs. That's a blueprint of you. And each sign is linked to an area of the body. So that's your full makeup. And when you bring the moon into it, the moon is more our internal world, it's our emotions. That's why I love blaming things on the moon. So, but although I love the moon, and it's full of much wisdom, but it's very wonderful to be able to say, okay, today, this phase, as we go up, the lunar cycle from the new moon to the full moon, that's when our energy is rising. And each of those signs are linked to an area of the body. So we can take a closer look in at certain areas of the body, and having that overall sun as well. That's our kind of key to understanding that's the area of the body that we really take care of for that month. So depending on how much time you have for this, you can just do it really simply and be aware of the area of the body you want to take care of for the month. Or you can do a deeper dive into the emotions, into mental, mindfulness for each of the signs with the moon as well. And that's how I'm living now. I am literally taking care and helping people take care of certain areas of the body, and their emotions with, the fluctuations of the moon and the sun sign. Okay,
Mm.
so that's how that works.
I've never heard
Mm,
so so in depth, and I didn't know about this at all. Does it
mm.
does it take a lot to understand it, or do you have a kind of a scheme in as or kind of calendar as such that you would share with?
Yeah. So this is why it's taken me years to perfect it, because there's a lot of ways of doing this, but in fact, it's really simple and the rhythm is there already. And it's something just by simply following the moon phases and knowing what sun sign we're in, um, anyone can grasp, you know. Um, I'm about to release an app, and that will actually help people. And it's a free community where they can actually align to the sun and the moon every season. And that's exactly what we're offering. We are offering a place where people can actually connect to each of the energies and understand in little tips and, self-care tips and business tips. Okay, this energy is meaning this for me. It's a good time to do this, or good time to focus on this area of the body, etc. So that's exactly what we're creating, so that people can actually live this way really easily. And it is literally just information that you can take on board, no matter where you are in your healing journey, no matter if it's for protection of the body or self-care. I think self-care is really misunderstood. And it's something that we need to be looking at to, because our systems, our healthcare systems are crumbling, worldwide. They're put under a lot of pressure. And it's also down to us as individuals to understand that we need to take more care of ourselves, for ourselves, and not have to rely on those later down the line as much, if you see what I mean. So this is a way to look in and decide, okay, I know it's this area of the body. What can I do, in those areas to help myself? Maybe, say, for Pisces, a ruler of the feet, maybe you need to get your toenails done. Or maybe you need a full-on foot massage, or maybe there's a corn you need to get rid of, all sorts of things. But we know that that month is ruler of the feet, and we're going to take care of our feet. Do you see what I mean? It's as simple as that. So you can make it as simple or as complicated. And obviously, we have self-care classes which actually can help people connect to certain areas of the body, which are all like holistic. And we bring in special guests in different areas, like even yourself, that can complement each sign.
Okay.
Mm.
We're just going to park that one question, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I really want to dive a little bit more into this. Um,
Yes.
because I'm curious, does this go actually beyond, well, if I'm talking about women now, does this go beyond
Mm.
the infradian rhythm, so the four phases of the menstrual cycle?
Yes, because I think that we're all on a different way when it comes to the menstrual cycle. Some people believe with the new moon, some with the full moon. And this method is fantastic for people who have hit menopause and no longer have a cycle but want to connect to a cycle. Because there is a very important time that we should be resting with the new moon, and we'll feel more energetic with the full moon. If we are not resting when it's the new moon and we're doing each day exactly the same, by the time the full moon energy hits and we know we're not going to get good sleep, we are exhausted or depleted in energy. And it's just to make people understand that each energy is different. And there's some days that you don't feel like doing anything, and there's some days that you feel like working out or moving your body, and that's totally normal, and that's okay. We fluctuate, we are not the same. We are not the sun, like the masculine energy, wake up in the morning with the sunrise, have all this energy, and then at night time, close down. That's what men do. We are women where we have this influx of different energies rising and going down, and it's time for us to really start to respect that. And that's what I'm offering with these lunar classes, for people to understand their energy levels. And, it's normal to not want to do the same thing each day for us as women. For men, it's the reverse.
So you mentioned for women during menopause, but obviously this goes also for women with their whole menstrual phase. But
Yes.
Because there's a lot, a lot of knowledge now about the infradian rhythm, and obviously there's the cycle syncing, which is very, which is, I think, a very good and important step, and a very huge scientific kind of knowledge. But I do feel what you are saying here takes that to another step, to another level.
Yes, I am not a menstrual cycle expert in any ways, but there are things that we can be following. There are cycles. Women are cyclical beings, and this is a different way. This is looking at time in a different way. This is honoring our energy, and it's really reframing time, because we are seeing things in 28-day cycles or in 6-month cycles, because whenever there's a new moon in a sign, that moon sign 6 months later will be the full moon, and then a year later will be back in its new phase. And we never go through the same moon sign or phase twice in a year, which I absolutely love. So we can really be understanding that if there's a new moon in Aries, 6 months later, it will travel each month. It will travel 2.5 days up until it reaches the full moon and its peak. And you can start a self-care routine in Aries. Aries is ruler of the head. Maybe that's the day you need to do your meditation. So you do a meditation, and each time you hit that Aries moon on the way up, and it's very much about starting projects and passion and so on. So we can be reflecting back on what were our intentions with that new moon in Aries, and make them happen each time there is an Aries moon until we hit the full moon. And that's when we manifest. That's really when the moon is shining a light on the body, but also shining a light on an area of our life. So connecting that way, connecting to the house system and your body. And it's really simple, because the house system does look at every area of the life. But, it's one step at a time. There's a lot to grasp. And this is where it took me so long. But in fact, this is why I'm here to guide people and to show them how to follow this system, because it is very simple when you get it.
I was already thinking, like you first said it's simple, and I thought, okay, there I want to step in. And then there you go. But I can see it indeed. I find it interesting because you just mentioned how self-care is so misunderstood.
Yes.
Actually, now already kind of indicating how your self-care changes indeed with the end of the moon, with the different energies, and self-care can look completely different then.
Yes. So this is what I like about it, because we all have a different idea of what self-care is. And I do feel it's very misunderstood. Also, some people are really on a healing journey. Some people are very much on top of their self-care. And we've been brought up, as in my generation, to see self-care as a bit of a, not very important and a bit beauty and, you know, all that sort of stuff, which is not true. And a lot of people, when it comes to self-care, they don't actually know what to do. They don't know what it is. And that fascinates me because I was one of those people. I didn't actually have really any self-care routine, anything like that. And this is why when it dawned on me, oh my goodness, I really need something. This way enabled me to not just heal my burnout by understanding new moon, full moon, and that kind of energy, but being able to focus on an area of the body each month as we go through the signs. After doing this for a year, you realize that you've actually taken care of every single area of the body over a year. It hasn't felt overwhelming. And then the next year, you start to do the same thing again, but you start to see the differences and the benefits of where you were the previous year. You start to feel the change. And that's what's really interesting for us as women. It is progress over perfection. It is moving forward in the right direction. It's not being too hard on ourselves. It's a gentle process. And that's where I think people think like, oh, I'm going to take really good care of myself now. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do this and that and so on. And then, you know, new moon happens and we're all exhausted and we're like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then we get hard on ourselves because it's what society has kind of taught us that we must be doing all the time. And it's simply not true. We can most definitely fit this in, but at key moments of the cycle at the right time. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just wondering, let's say if someone has, for instance, IBS, yeah, and so there's a lot of energy, focus, attention, it goes into the intestines. How does that go together, for instance, with every month there's another body part to focus on?
Well, if someone's got IBS, it would be very interesting to see if they have anything related with either Virgo or Pisces in their chart, because Virgo is the digestive system. And also Virgo, which I really love, is linked to Mercury, as is Gemini. But with Gemini, it's all about expression outwards. When it's in Virgo, it's all about processing inwards, and how we process our food and how we process our emotions, I think, are very tied into Virgo and how we eat and so on. So that is something, you know, you could be looking at each moon sign. You could say, okay, each moon sign, well, it hits Virgo, I am going to do something nice for my digestive system. Maybe it's more teas, maybe it's, you know, having root vegetables rather than spicy food, or, you know, looking at your diet. But that is something that's really nice for people who've got a little bit more time and they want to really follow the moon. They can be doing that every Virgo moon, for instance, just checking in with that and seeing how it feels on a monthly basis.
Okay.
For an example, yeah.
So there's basically a kind of whole system behind, let's say, any kind of illness or any kind of, it doesn't go as far as illness?
Yes. Oh, yes, very much so. You can see everything in your chart. You can see illness. There's even the house of death in the chart. There is a lot that we can see, which is under medical astrology. I've studied medical astrology, and the kind of thing that I am bringing is a preventative self-care solution for people. I don't want to start looking at people's charts for health, because it is complex. And I feel that this is a great preventative system for people to understand, rather than looking into something and being, oh, what's that? And what does that mean? And, you know, scaremongering.
Kind of doom thinking then, right? Yeah.
Instead, what I believe is that we are all the signs. We can look at each month at a certain area of the body, very simply, and home in on that area and work out what that area needs for you to feel good in that area. And that's very simple to be able to achieve each month, and especially with our program.
Yes. Well, it's incredible. It's really incredible. Congratulations for having this.
Thank you.
This, really. Okay, shall we just go back to that one question?
Yes. Was this about the
masculinity when you were a young girl? Yes. How you were aware of that? How did that come to you?
Growing up, I used to be really into rock and metal, and I used to organize gigs, and I used to have a lot of guys around me who were very intimidated by me, but I just felt like one of the boys sort of thing. And during that stage in my life, I also discovered pole dance, and that was in early 2000, and I set up one of London's first ever alternative movement schools, which I ran for 15 years, which I really enjoyed. And part of that, I did that because I did feel very masculine. It's the one thing that made me feel connected to feminine, but also sexual energy, which I found very hard to connect to growing up. So what I discovered years later when I started to look at astrology was that Gemini, my sign, is actually a masculine sign, and my energy is actually masculine. But my rising sign, everyone's rising sign, is how people see you and how you look on the outside. And how I look on the outside, or how I'm perceived, is Virgo, which is a feminine sign. So people see me as looking very feminine, very cute and dainty, but actually quite fierce inside, if you like, quite masculine driven. I was, somebody who really pushed things. I was a point of a workaholic, basically. Yeah. So this is why, I had to stop and find a new way of doing things, because I really pushed my body to its limits with the movement and everything. And now I believe it's more about quality over quantity. This is, this is why I only run about 6 classes a month, in these very specific things so that people can get it. But also, it's part of my self-care, doing these classes and being able to offer that to other people. And we're all different and exploring, and I much prefer that than trying to do 8 hours a day, throwing yourself at an iron bar all day, which was great fun. But at the same time, now my body has gone like, stop doing that, please. So, yes.
And so how do you notice masculine energy is still, present? Or how do you use it?
I think it's very interesting to understand that the 6 of the signs are masculine, 6 of the signs are feminine. And I think that, there are people who have a lot of feminine in their chart or a lot of masculine in their chart. And that is something that fascinates me. It's not something I've done a study in, but I would like to one day to even understand, people's sexuality and so on. What's really wonderful about understanding this is Mars is the ruler of our movement, but it's also our desires and our sexuality, how we, like things between the sheets and so on. So knowing your Mars placement can tell you very much about what type of movement you need personally as an individual, and what your kind of sexuality is like. This is what's fascinating, because we do all have a unique blueprint of our self-care needs. That's all in your chart. You have the house of sleep, the house of routines, your nutrition, your movement, your self-care, your hobbies. It's all there. And I've recently just started, it's taken me years to learn this, but I've just started offering the constellation of you, which is where I guide people through their charts to understand what they should be doing for their self-care in their daytime and nighttime routine, personally to them. And it's a group coaching. And I've just started doing that. We're in the 2nd week and I'm loving it. So, and they are too. So it's just fun. It's fun to look at your chart in a different way and work out what sort of self-care you really need, and that's another layer to it, if you like. There's a simple way to follow the seasons and do self-care that way, but then you can really decide, right, I want to know what's unique to me and go into that direction. So it's fascinating.
I'm going to sign up next time, Let me see. Can you talk a little bit about the role of motherhood in terms of shifting the understanding of yourself and, in relation to the healing work you're doing now?
Yes, of course. So I became a mum in 2017. I literally went to, at that time, my partner was French and I was living in London. And I had the opportunity to move to France because he had an apartment in France. So we decided to move there. I tried to run my business from a distance, which just simply didn't work, obviously. So I had to let that go. And I found myself as a new mum in a situation where I'd left, because I made a big move, obviously. So I'd kind of left everything I knew behind me. And it was a big step, like absolutely terrifying, to be honest with you. You know, I didn't have a lot of support here at that time. And, you know, at the same time, you've got this wonderful creature that's come into your world, and it's becoming a mum just turns everything upside down. Who you feel you are. You know, I was living quite an adult life, running like a pole dance school, as you could imagine. And then you're hit with, okay, I've got to do what's best for my child. And, you know, this is what I felt was best, but I totally left myself behind. I felt very, very lost. And, you know, being in a new country, new mum, not knowing the language really, and going from London to a small village, it was quite a lot of change. So I'm very grateful for it, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if that wasn't the case. But the transition into motherhood was like a big slap in the face. It was full on, and I think it is for a lot of mums. And that's something which is wonderful. And at the same time, you know, you've got to find yourself back again. You know, I think many of us do lose ourselves when it comes into motherhood. And finding astrology and finding the moon and finding yoga nidra. Yoga nidra saved me, because my daughter, she was a very bad sleeper for many years. She was one of those ones that would wake up every hour and a half, but for 2 years on the trot. So I was like a zombie. And the yoga nidra just really helped me, because that's the sort of thing you can recuperate your energy back by doing yoga nidra in the right way. I think the equivalent of 1 hour is like 4 hours deep sleep, and that was really helping me. So I really advise that for mums, and, you know, understanding when to take time for yourself, which is really hard when you're a mum as well, because everything is about, you know, your children, so, and everyone else around you. But being able to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to make sure I take out new moon, full moon, and those evenings are for me, whether it's going and taking a bath and getting an early night, or doing some movement or whatever, but making sure that you carve in that time for yourself is really important. And so many women are not doing that, and they're just pushing themselves and pushing themselves, and it is exhausting. There has to be another way. And this is where I found these ways, which have really helped me. You know, I was really burnt out when I had my daughter, and then having 2 years of no sleep on top of that just, you know, crippled me. So now I'm ready to share this, because I feel like I'm still going on my healing journey, but, you know, I'm nowhere where I was, you know, 8 years ago. I should mention it was also a time when I had my daughter that about 6 months after that, my father got seriously ill, and he then passed 6 months later. So there was a lot going back to England and France, and it's just been a lot of confusion. And then we decided to start afresh after my father passed, and we moved to the south of France. And then COVID hit. So it was like, you know, one thing after another for several years. It was really tough. But you've got to keep smiley and happy and just carry on doing what you're doing for your kids. And, you know, and she's also been, she is the little light of my life, because she's the person who's brought me through, you know, to the other side in a different way. So, yeah, I'm eternally grateful to her, and for finding a new way to look after myself. I don't know where I would be now if it wasn't for her, if you see what I mean, in a way. So yes, thank you.
No, thank you.
That
That's very intense. So it's I hear yoga has been basically the main kind of tool to
yes.
help you through that. And then can you talk a little bit about what might not be necessarily on yoga nidra, but just the impact on the system for women, and indeed their times to create rest?
Yes, so Yoga Nidra is something which is you do in a position called Shavasana, which normally happens at the end of a yoga class. And I am doing this in a way which is longer Yoga Nidras, 20 minutes up to an hour. When it comes to the cycle, the time that we really need to rest is kind of easy to understand. It's when the moon is at its darkest, and that's the new moon or the dark moon the day before the new moon. Each dark moon, we always do a dark moon ritual, which is Yoga Nidra, and it will be in that sign. So we weave in, some nice visualizations. Say for if it's Gemini, it will be a lot of breath work because it's linked to the lungs, Gemini, all the twins in the body, which I love. But give you an example. So dark moon, new moon is really those 3 days we should be getting as much rest as possible so that we feel in a good place by the time the full moon hits and that energy hits, which is a time in the cycle many of us are aware of. We don't sleep so well, and there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of buzziness, energy. Some people are really in tune with it and can feel it. And even like I talk to friends of mine who work in the NHS and so on, like even full moons, everybody's like, oh no, it's a full moon, because there's more accidents at this time, there's more accidents on the road, it really affects us. So I think it's the sort of thing to understand, okay, I'm going to rest at this phase so I feel good at this phase and I can take on anything that the world throws at me, rather than depleting ourselves all the time each day. And that would be the two main times of the cycle to be aware of, really, as women. That's where to start. And then you can start weaving in these energies and so on.
Can I just
I've
ask?
got the other side of the question, but yeah, anyway.
It's okay. Just curious, does it apply similar to men? Even the cycle?
Some men are definitely affected by the moon. That's for sure. We are all affected by the moon, I believe, because we are partly water. A lot of us is, our body is made out of water, and the moon actually, controls the tides and is very much linked to water within the body. So yes, they can be, but on an emotional level, I really feel that women are more connected to the moon emotionally. Guys are too, but this is a feminine deity. This is really, the moon is for femininity, the sun is masculinity, and men are more the sun. They are really those 24-hour clock, waking up in the morning feeling great, do their gym, do their bits and pieces, and then when it's nighttime, they're falling asleep. But for us, it doesn't work like that. It's really different phases for different things. And this is why I try to support with the Yoga Nidras, especially around the dark moon. But there are kind of Yoga Nidras. It's great at any time, because it's the sort of thing you can do a 20-minute nap in the afternoon and then feel really refreshed if you do have time to do that, especially if you're feeling really overwhelmed and depleted for your nervous system. It really helps the nervous system. And that is something which is beneficial for everyone. So, yeah.
That was a bit the nervous system. What are some common patterns you see in women who struggle with self-care, and how does your company Universal Movement help to rewire those narratives?
I think it's got a lot to do with how women move and their fitness and so on, because we've all been put in situations where we feel like a failure for starting something and then letting it kind of slide or stop or whatever. Or there was a time that we were really good at something and then we let it go. We move into another cycle, it doesn't quite work, or, life is throwing things at us all day long to do with our kids, our family, work. It's the last thing on our mind. It really is. And this is where I would like to bring that to the forefront, because the more we take care of ourselves, the easier the rest is. And that's really true. And I do think that the fitness industry is something which is quite toxic in a way. And it needs to be understood that there is a different way of moving your body, without feeling any shame, without feeling any, like this has to stop. Each day is a new day. Each day is a new energy. And we can be feeling into ourselves what our body needs right now. And this is where this method helps with this, because we'll say, okay, it is Taurus season. So Taurus is ruler of the neck. Let's do things which are going to help us speak our truth, maybe even singing, around the house for that month, nice. But also let's do some neck stretches. And maybe if your neck is feeling really bad, maybe go and get a massage or go and see a chiropractor or that sort of thing. So it's just taking into account that's the area of the body for this month. What can I do to help myself in that area? And we are doing self-care practices. So we'll be doing self-care massage, yoga, sensual movement, because obviously that's my background, yoga nidra, all these nice, soft, like yin yoga, restorative, all these things. And then there are times of the cycle, like around the full moon, you can be doing your hip workout and you can be doing this, your marathon run if you want, or whatever you want to do, but it's not every day. This is what I'm trying to get people to understand. And when you start to take that pressure off yourself, as I don't have to do this exercise thing every day or this self-care thing every day, it's refreshing. And it just brings a different perspective in things. And to understand that there is a time between the waxing moon and the full moon, we can be really, really active and feel really good about it. And then towards the end of the cycle, we can be doing slower practices like yoga, yin yoga, restorative, all those sorts of things, which can actually complement us to rest deeply. And that's what I'm trying to put out there, this system of understanding when to move and when it's not really needed, because it isn't needed every day, and we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
And so how does it sync with menstruation then?
Well, this is the thing. It doesn't. It really doesn't. There is the moon, which is a lot. People say that the moon is linked to menstruation. I believe it is, but at the same time, it's not something that I am putting out there. It's more about the body astrology that I think people can understand, because we're all individuals. Some people have a menstrual cycle, some people don't. For those that don't, I think following the moon is absolutely perfect, because it gives you that 4-week structure or the 28-day structure of understanding when to rest and when to feel more energetic. But other than that, we're all different. And because of the way society is, there's different hormones, different places that we live. We may not all be in tune with the moon for our period, whatever, for our time of the month. So I think that's really an individual thing. This is more of a methodology, not really about the menstrual cycle. It's really around the body, different areas of the body, how the moon can highlight different areas, and we can work with that. And it's not just even in our self-care, it's we can do this for our business, we can do this in every area of our life. For instance, Gemini season, this season that we're in right now, is all to do with our communication, how we express ourselves. It's also to do with short distance kind of weekend trips. So this could be perfect time to be, arranging those weekend trips for the year. Working out how we communicate with people. Is there a way that we can do that better? It's all these kind of personal growth ideas. And then with that, Gemini, this is all the twins in the body, as I mentioned. So it's the lungs. So we can be doing extra breath work this month. It's the arms. So maybe we could do a few arm workouts. That's the sort of thing you can find in our methodology, basically. So we have pre-recorded classes, and we run 5 live classes a month, which are really in tune with the moon and the moon sign. So the new moon, first quarter, full moon, last quarter, and then dark moon. There's always a class. And, you don't have to come into all of them, but there's one class a week, which I think most people can manage. And they start to understand the energy. They start to see the difference and because there's some signs that also don't resonate with us. There's some point in the cycle where we feel, for me, whenever it hits like an Aries moon, my head's all over the place. I really am. And I started to note these things down. There's a time in the month that I actually am feeling totally erratic. So what I'm going to do is I started to note it down. I started to realize it was the same moon sign each month when I was feeling bonkers. So basically decided, okay, that's the time I'm going to be a bit easier on myself. And I'm going to do a meditation and, make sure that in one of that 2-day time, I'm going to do something that makes me not be so hard on myself, or just to be aware of that is a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, it's that. Okay, great. Then I can
Get out
move
of my
on.
way.
It's a different energy in a couple of days, so we'll move on to something else. But I'm going to take it easy right now because I should.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not really listening. Many people aren't listening to what they need, and this is a way to help you understand that you need to, or you can listen to each area of the body and do something for it, and not just the body, but our mental health and also our personal growth, and and so on.
So how are your daughter and your husband interested in this? Or how are you
Ah,
putting them in?
my daughter's very, very interested.
Yeah.
She's only 8, and she does like lots of like yoga, and she's recording videos. She does a better job than I do. She's very confident. My partner, he understands the method. He is not into astrology at all, the slightest. I tell him things and he goes, "Oh, okay, that's cool. I understand. That resonates and whatever." But I try to keep him clear of it. He's into things like, he's a Pisces, so he needs a lot of space. Pisces is the sign that needs the most sleep out of all the signs. So that's, he really enjoys his sleep, let's put it like that. And also he's very much into like bodybuilding and stuff. So I'll say to him, okay, is this moon, maybe you should work on this area of the body this time, so, but other than that, I just leave him be. I'm really a girl's girl, that's the thing.
Yes.
This is a method for anybody who wants to know more about kind of energy and so on, but I don't think it resonates for everyone. You have to be interested in the moon or body astrology, to want to live this way. And it is a specific way to live because you start to notice energies, and it's amazing because you just see the progress as time goes on, and especially when you do this for a full year of each month zoning into a specific area, you really do see a difference a year after. So, but each to their own. Yeah, I'm not going to force my partner into doing things. So
Yes.
he has said to me that he is happy I do live this way, and he understands what I'm doing and so on. And he'll kind of join in sometimes, but it's not forced on him.
So
This is all relatively new for him. We've been together about 10 years, but obviously I wasn't living that way 10 years ago. So for me to make all these huge changes and steps, in personal growth and in even spirituality and linking with the moon and so on, I think for him it's just like, okay, I'll let her get on with her path and what she's got to do. So
yeah, okay. As long as you keep on meeting each other, right? Yes. You mentioned about sensual movement, right? Your background. So how do women relate to that, respond to that?
I think it's something that I tend to be in all the taboos, let's say that way: fitness industry, self-care industry, astrology, and sensual movement, but I think it's everything that women need. I really do, because we are a power. We hold a power to life. We birth life, and that is something, that energy, that connecting to our sexual energy is really important. And I think that is something that many women throughout their lifetime have had difficulty to connect with, throughout their lifetime have been put in situations where there is trauma, where there is uncomfortable issues and so on. And that is something I feel that we can work on, and really, really easy. I like to embody different goddesses or different astrological signs to bring in this energy, and just take the time. Feeling sensual doesn't mean, like bring up a pole or whatever. It's about understanding what the body needs, and nourishing it and loving it, and taking time to connect with that area. That's all sensuality to me. And helping women understand that they can reconnect to their bodies in this way is really powerful. And that's where, how to say, I was running the school and doing that for about 15 years or so. And then when I had my daughter, I stopped for a long time. And it's only been in the last few years I had a massive calling to go back and help women, especially at a certain age, over 40 plus. There are many pole schools, there are many places that people can go to connect with that, but you'll find it's mainly 20, 30-year-olds running around in high heels and shorts, which doesn't resonate for me as a woman of 40 plus. That wants to cover up bits and pieces, but at the same time wants to be able to go somewhere and actually explore these sorts of, movement and how that makes me feel and reconnect. And this is why I'm offering a space. It's going to be called The Garden. It's opening very soon, and there'll be downloadable classes so people can come in and, just like the look of a class and decide, okay, I want to download that. But there'll also be lives as well, where I have a lot of women which keep their cameras off, which is absolutely fine. And it's becoming more and more popular, and I feel that there is a massive calling for this. There is a massive movement towards this. And as women of a certain age, you don't want to feel that's it. Like, I'm still a sexual being, I'm still a being, I'm here, I'm alive, I want to feel all the things and live all the things, and this helps with that. And yeah, I think it's really important to offer that. I've always been about that, in fact, and that's why I started the school in the first place, and things evolved into different things because you're running a business. It's not realistic in a way to be able to offer it, but now I can offer it online in a way that I feel is the right way, in the comfort of people's own homes, and in the right timing, and not have to teach that for hours on end each day. It's really, there's a specific class for that once a month, and come and enjoy and come and explore, come and reconnect to yourself. And I think that is so, so powerful. I really do.
You're really cool. Let me see. Okay, maybe the last question here. Looking back now, what do you wish more women understood about the relationship between movement, astrology, and self-worth?
Good question. Now, before I answer this, I'm going to have to let the cat out, because it's the mean cat and he'll start biting me if I don't let him out. Apologies. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. Looking back, what do you wish more women understood about the relationship between movement, astrology, and self-worth?
Well, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there is a massive connection, which I think a lot of people don't realize, between astrology and the body, and also the moon phases. We've got to go back to a more simpler time of like ancient wisdom of, understanding cycles. We're in a phase in society where it is about do it all, and it's not possible. It's really is too much. So I really wish that women would just simply take advantage of the new moon and full moon for understanding their energy. That's the place to start, as I mentioned. But there is another way, and it doesn't have to be just going down the gym on the treadmill or doing nothing at all and sitting on the sofa. we are so much in a society that's connected to the head and the mind. And, you know, we've got to connect back to the body. I feel it's the way to be able to thrive as women. You know, it's something that a lot of us are not doing or starting to do. You know, there's a fantastic, you know, holistic and new age way of things I feel happening in UK, and that's absolutely brilliant. This is bringing another layer to things, that there is another way to connect to your body, and this is what I want to show people how to do. So it's very exciting. It's also, you know, it's not a weight on my shoulders, but it's like, you know, I know that this can be very, very big in the future if people start to understand how to actually live by the moon and areas of their body, which is really simple, in fact. So yeah, I feel it can really help, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I do think we need a different time frame to understand time. We need a different solution to understand our self-care and how to protect our health for the future. You know, every day is a step towards how we're going to be in the future, and that's really important, you know, especially as you're getting older, and this is a platform that helps people with that. So yeah.
Beautiful.
It's taken me a long time to know what it is, but I know what it is now.
Good. Well, from everything you've shared, I mean, it's really clear how much you know about it and how much self-work you've done and how you've completely developed it. So
Thank you.
Just the last question, when do you think your app will be ready?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be on my birthday, which is in a couple of days.
Okay.
It's amazing. But it's been 6 months of battling with it. So I will let you know. But it is working on Apple. It's Universal Movement, and you can type that in and find us. But Android is having some little issues, which I'm sure by the time this is out will be resolved. So we're halfway there. It's on one platform, which is great.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, thank you so much for this deeply nourishing conversation. And just for the listeners, I think her story reminds us that movement is more than physical. It's emotional, energetic, and cyclical. And it's whether you're navigating motherhood, burnout, or a desire to reconnect with your body. I think your work through universal movement really offers this gentle yet powerful invitation to align with these different rhythms. So thank you so much for being on this podcast.
It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you, lovely.
Thank you for joining us on The Colors of Womanhood. Whether you found a piece of yourself in today's story, or it opened a new perspective, I hope it reminded you that your path, in all its colors, is valid, sacred, and worth honoring. If you're curious to explore your energy levels and reconnect with your inner energetic potential, I invite you to download Energize In, a free resource designed to give you a gentle yet powerful taster of what's possible when you tune into your feminine vitality. You'll find the link in the show notes. If this episode moved you, feel free to share it with a sister, a friend, or someone navigating their own womanhood. And if you feel called, leave a review or message. I love hearing what resonates. Until next time, keep listening to your body, nurturing your spirit, and embracing the full spectrum of your womanhood wherever you are in the world.